Yeah, I want to go over converting the AK47 shell cases over to the Grendel 6.5 Grendel. And this is actually the 6.5 Grendel, and you notice there's a major difference. It's not the length, it's not the size of the case, but it's the neck itself. There's a major difference between the two. And what you have to do is you have to run it through a full-length sizing die, and you have to use some case slick on it because you can't use WD-40 or motor oil. It's got to go. It's a special oil. And what actually I do is I oil this pad up, I roll them in there, and actually get inside a little bit too with a Q-tip to make sure it goes through. But these are the sizing dies, and also there's a gauge here that to check the length. So in other words, if you put this in, this is the Grendel, specifically for the Grendel, and make sure, because this thing will stretch out. Now this is already a loaded round of ammunition, so it's the correct length. But when you size this down, this will actually stretch a little bit because this is going to be shrunk down a lot, and you're going to have to trim the case a little bit. So this will measure to make sure it's the right length. And I got 500 pieces of brass here, so the first thing I'm going to do is go through. I just want to show you how to do one of them, and just full length size the case. Now when you bring this down, the neck down of this to this size here, the smaller size, you can see it's much wider. The one on the right is much wider than the one on the left. The one on the left is a loaded round of ammunition. The one on the right is the actual standard 7.62 by 39 millimeter Russian AK47 round, just the actual brass though. So when you neck this down, it's going to stretch the length of this entire case a little bit because this gets more narrow, and also it's going to put some dents on the end here. So you're either going to have to fire form it or water form it. But first I'm just going to show you how the full length sizing die works. And actually I kept an extra one of these, where this actually hooks onto the case itself. And I just picked up a spare one just in case. I always keep spares of everything. Now this, I never use these pretty much, but you know what? You can pretty much, many times this isn't too bad. But you know what? If you're going to measure the powder you put in by using it this method, and you got to make sure you're using the right powder for whatever size charge you're going to use. But make sure you weigh it first, and then once you weigh it a couple times, then you can go ahead like cookie cutters and just dump them in, each one with like a funnel like that. Or you can use the auto loader, because I actually have both. I have the auto loader, the reloading equipment that has like the 3 stages in it. But a lot of times I use the single stage because I'm a lot more careful that way. And it's like, I just do things in steps, deep prime everything, run it through the media to get all the, to get it nice and shiny, because this is all brand new brass anyway. And then go ahead and size them up, then put the primers in the next step, then I'll do the powder, then I'll do put the round in it itself, and then actually I'll put a crimp around here. A lot of times I'll do that on the the AR-15 rounds. I put a crimp around here so they stay in there good. So I got all type of different stuff to do this, but right now it looks like powder and primers are getting pretty rare. Okay, I'm set up outside in a little place I made for my motorcycle, and you can see my bike is right under here, and this little place actually, right there. So the way I have it set is that, I can move this any place I want. Like I said, here's the, that's a Lee reloader. I know some people say Lee's no good, but I don't know. I've never had a problem with Lee. And I use this a lot. I reloaded thousands and thousands of rounds on this thing. But a lot of times I like using this single stage thing. So I just have it bolted to a piece of wood. And this is outside under a covered area. And I already sized one of them right here. And you can see I got some really old case lube, so I got to get some more of that stuff. Man, I didn't realize that shit was that old, man. But it works. So here's a loaded ammunition that's already done. Now here's one that's been resized. Now, all you have to do is put the case in here. God damn. clutch anyway. And what I do is I don't actually like push it all the way through. I just kind of go through a little bit at a time, because I want as least amount of it deformed as possible. And you have to adjust the bottom here, to meet that exactly, so you get a full length sizing die in there. And I actually run them through. I'm nitpicky. I run them through several times. Now, the next thing you would do is check the length. Actually, the length looks okay, to tell you the truth. So, they didn't stretch. They really didn't stretch. So that's good. It's good. That's good. So this actually looks like an easy operation. And I'm not sure about fire forming these, because just looking out here in the light, I mean, they really don't look. It probably is. The case wall is not as pronounced as the actual regular Grendel rounds. That's probably the problem. They need to be fire formed. But there's another way of doing it, and that's by using water. Yeah. You notice the wall, it's not that much of a difference, but it's enough that if you put a full charge in here, that could be dangerous. The brass could be split. It probably wouldn't be dangerous. The brass gets split. So really what you should do is use a lighter charge, and fire form them first. But they're sized, and I got 500 of them to do, so I'll go out here and do all this in one step. But the next step, if I'm going to see if I'm about trying to get these blown out exactly correct without actually having to load them up with a round and put like a light charge in them and fire form them, and that might be possible. But that's simply how you could just take your ordinary AK47 rounds and make them into Grendel. The 6.5 Grendel is far superior to anything out there. It's far more superior than the 7.62 NATO, and it's definitely far superior to the 5.56 to NATO, the M16 AR-15 round. It's a much better round. Actually, all our forces ought to be using this round. It's been out for 10 years. I don't know what the deal is. It's like golf courses. And actually, if you see what they spent on the Baghdad U.S. Embassy in there with all their Olympic-sized swimming pools, soccer fields, it's bigger than the Vatican by several times, I think. They could have easily did barrel changes and upper receiver changers on all the weapons for a lot less cost, and everybody could have been using this great round, which is much better than the AR-15 round. Much more. Hey, the whole idea is, you want our guys to win. You want our guys to come back. So this is the round to use, and just wonder why they don't use it. I don't wonder why, because they're idiots. Basically, that's what's wrong with them. But this is how you could take. These rounds are pretty expensive, though, because not too many people. It's not popular. See, once the military adopts this round, it gets cheaper. But you could take AK-47 brass, resize it, and make it into the 6.5 Grendel. So that's a neat trick. And I'll probably do another update, because I'm thinking I think there is a way you could form these out perfect without fire forming them. You could do a water pressure. So I'll be doing an update on that. But first, I'm going to go through. This is a bag of 100. I got 500 rounds, and I'm going to size them all up, get them all good to go. And actually, before I'm all done with this, I'll start checking the rounds to make sure that they feed through the weapon, before I even fire them. So you can see this is the Grendel round, and you can see if I try to push it in, it's just the right size of the projectile, the bullet. So it'll be pressed. That'll be pressed in there. Now you can see the AK-47 round. It goes all the way in. In other words, it's so basically that did bring it down quite a bit. You can see. So it's correct. It's correct using a full length sizing die on it. But I always run it through the die a few times. I'm a little nitpicky. But I also, when he's become loaded ammunition, I will cycle them through the weapon by hand to make sure everything feeds, there's no problems, there's nothing. And then once you load it up a few times, because I've never reloaded to 6.5 Grendel. I did everything, practically everything else, 30-06, 308s, 5.56 to 45 ACP to 9mm, 357, 44 Magnum, 38 Special, and a bunch of other things. So anyway, I need this 6.5 Grendel because I'm going to defend Putin, my cat, and against all enemies, foreign, direct, domestic, and that's just how it goes. And this is Putin, my cat, Mr. Putin. He's part Russian blue, and he actually he loves this thing here. It actually goes in. It's a cat carry bag, and he goes in it by himself. And I give him plenty of toys. He's got a little thing here, a scratcher, stuff he plays with. So he has a good old time. There he is, eating the fake flowers.